I see we're at 10:01, so I don't want to keep us waiting any longer. Again, welcome to everyone who has joined us. Welcome, Jim. Thank you for joining us. Today, it is our Tech Canada Deeper Insights webinar. My name is Katrinelle Popescu. I've had the pleasure of seeing a lot of you online over the last couple of weeks, especially every 2 weeks on Thursdays. I'm Tech Canada's Marketing and Communications Manager, and pleasure to be hosting today's session. We're thrilled to be joined today by Jim Harris. Jim is a #1 international best-selling author on disruption. I've had the pleasure of hearing Jim speak, and again, to be joined by him today. He has recently returned from 2 of the biggest business and technology events in the world, and bringing his insights to share with us today, one being the World Economic Forum in Davos, and the other being the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. And he's bringing new insights never before shared with, especially our tech audiences, on both the discussions and trends that business and government leaders are focusing on today. So very timely and relevant. Jim will also delve into the tools, tactics, and strategies that most successful companies are using to address today's challenges. And something, of course, on a lot of people's minds these days, something that we're talking about here, how the infamous ChatGPT software can benefit your company. Now, whether you're a business owner, an executive, or an entrepreneur, this is a great, unique opportunity to learn from one of the most knowledgeable experts in the field. Jim, welcome. A quick note before I turn it over to you. For anyone listening and joining us today, please send in your questions. We'll be monitoring the chat, whether you're on LinkedIn or here on Zoom joining us. We'll have an opportunity throughout and certainly at the end for Jim to answer some of those. So please send them in. We would be thrilled to capture those. And Jim, probably maybe throughout the session and certainly at the end, I'll kind of pop back in and let you know what we have coming up. But without further ado, over to you. Thank you for joining us.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to have opportunity to have some questions and answers throughout this. We're going to be really looking at what are the implications of new announcements at CES and in Davos, and how are they going to impact business? So let's just dive in. If anybody, I'm calling this Tech Trends for 2023, and you could say for tech. If anybody wants to email me, it's just jim@jimharris.com. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn. So CES is the most influential tech event in the world. And I just want to play a little video for you here that I shot there.
We're here at the Consumer Electronics Show. It's the most influential tech event in the world, here in Las Vegas every year. And one of the very exciting technologies globally are e-scooters. Think about this. More than 60% of trips in the US are 5 miles or less. So from a sustainability perspective, which is better, pushing around a 2,000-pound piece of steel with burning fossil fuels, or an e-scooter like this Navi that weighs only 28 pounds? We've seen an incredible explosion of e-scooter use. It is the fastest growing category of mobility. It's called micromobility. So
I want to just say that the 2 fastest growing companies in the history of the US in terms of valuation were Lime and Bird. They both grew from start to $1 billion valuation in under 12 months. And that's all about micromobility. So those kind of data points, I find just head spinning. So what I want you to be doing during our 1 hour together today is using the chat to put in your insights in real time. So for instance, if it blows you away that Lime and Bird grew to $1 billion in under 12 months, you'd type into the chat #I for insight. Wow. Lime and Bird grew to $1 billion. Now, why am I suggesting that you actively participate in this and do it? Because at the end of our webinar, you can download the chat and you'll literally have dozens or hundreds of insights from people about the application of what we're going to talk about to their company or their business or industry. So please do hashtag I. If you have a question, hashtag Q and then type in the question. And when we come to a break, we'll have one of our many moderators ask it. D is, I really want to have a debate around this issue. And hashtag BQ is like, I have a burning question. It's an all fire alarm. We got to stop the webinar and deal with this. So our focus today is going to be on tech. And I want to start with ChatGPT. So as you can see at the bottom left of the screen here, ChatGPT was launched November 30th, 2022 by OpenAI. And it is the fastest growing tech ever. So it took Spotify 150 days to reach 1 million users. It took Instagram 75 days, but it took ChatGPT just 5 days. I mean, this is mind-blowing. And by the way, you can get a copy of these slides if you email me, jim@jimharris.com, or connect with me on LinkedIn. So let's look here. This is the same thing, but just adding more different companies in. Netflix took 3.5 years to reach 1 million users. Facebook took 10 months, and ChatGPT just 5 days. So the first poll, if you can call it up, Stephen. So I want you to vote. There's going to be a poll coming up here shortly. So you can vote. Number 1, haven't heard of ChatGPT. 2, yeah, I have heard of it. 3, I've tried it. And like 4, I am totally addicted to this thing. It was great fun for me because I was working with a tech group recently, and one CEO in the group said, look, I when it came out, I started playing with it and I couldn't stop for 5 days. I was totally addicted to it. So we're just going to end the poll now and share the results. It's just for fun here, so that you can all see it. And it looks like 40% have heard about it and 40% have tried it. And the rest of us are somewhere else. So this is really interesting. There's been a huge amount of media around this. So let's look at some of the implications. So I typed in, what are the top 10 business use cases for ChatGPT, to ChatGPT? And it said customer service and support, lead gen, sales and marketing, content creation, e-commerce and online shopping assistance, product recommendations, knowledge management and employee training, data analysis, insight generation, virtual assistants, and chatbots, like for recruitment. So one of the interesting things about ChatGPT is you can say, okay, well, this is kind of too generic. Give me more detail, and you will get far more detailed insights just by saying, okay, let's refine what you just told me. So number 1 use, customer service and support. ChatGPT can be used to provide 24/7 support to customers through conversational interfaces. It can help reduce response time, improve customer satisfaction, and increase customer loyalty. So I'm not going to go through and read all these, but I just want to highlight to you that you can use ChatGPT to figure out how to use ChatGPT. Here are the other 10 that I had. So just summarizing it, really, customer service, content generation, lead gen, virtual assistant, chatbots. This is going to be really big. Eventually, the APIs will be open to train chatbots for your company. So imagine your customer service is 24/365 with chatbots. And then if there's a problem that's beyond a level 1 support, it goes to a human. Translation, text summarization, answering questions, sentiment analysis, and predictive analytics. So I then said, okay, well, let's change the question. And what are the top 10 uses of ChatGPT for marketing? And again, we see a long list. So these are all embedded in the PowerPoint. If you ask for the slides, you'll get these, or you can create your own ChatGPT account and log on. Now, this has been so hugely popular that at times you get outages. In other words, there's a stampede through a narrow door and you can't get it. They're eventually going to create, well, they have already created a $20 a month, you can always get on subscription. It's for Americans only right now, but you can sign up to be one of the first Canadians to get it. I'm going to play a little video from Ryan Reynolds here.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds, owner of Mint Mobile. We're always looking for ways to save you money. So this year, we're kicking things off with an ad that I created using ChatGPT, the AI technology. This is what I asked it to write. I said, write a commercial for Mint Mobile in the voice of Ryan Reynolds. Use a joke, a curse word, and let people know that Mint's holiday promo is still going, even after the big wireless companies have ended theirs. This is what it wrote. Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here. Eerie. First of all, let me just say Mint Mobile is the shit. But here's the thing. All the big wireless companies out there are ending their holiday promos, but not Mint Mobile. We're keeping the party going because we're just that damn good. Give Mint Mobile a try. And hey, as an added bonus, if you sign up now, you'll get to hear my voice every time you call customer service. Just kidding, that's not really a thing. And stay classy, everyone. That is mildly terrifying, but compelling.
Now that just blows me away. I love it. I love it. So Microsoft was one of the early investors in OpenAI, which is the organization that developed ChatGPT. And after it attracted 1 million users in just 5 days, Microsoft invested $10 billion to basically buy a third of the company. The valuation was at $29 billion. Now, here's $2 billion worth of reasons why it was a wise investment. 80% of the search engine business and search ad market is Google's. Every 1 percentage point that Microsoft Bing can steal is worth I feel like Dr. Evil, $2 billion. So if Microsoft over the next couple of years, by integrating ChatGPT into its Bing search engine, is able to steal 5% market share from Google, it will have earned back all of its investment in equity. Now, this was a code red for Google. This was a crisis. The CEO wrote to everyone and said, hey, we're going to refocus all our efforts on AI. So it's not just that ChatGPT is out there and doing really interesting things. It's that it's created an absolute race to improve AI and interactive conversational analysis. And what ChatGPT does that's so different than Google is Google, you get a whole bunch of answers and you have to sort through and decide which are the best. ChatGPT synthesizes data. So, I could say, show me all, write me a blog about disruptive innovation for people who are on the speaking circuit, which is my primary business. And it will do that. Now, you don't just publish it as it is, but it gets you 80% of the way there. So it's just like I go to Wikipedia first, and then I look at sources. Now, this is really interesting. So in the rush for Google to respond to this threat, they just introduced Bard, which is their equivalent. And, I try and keep things up to date. So this is from yesterday. So sorry about the dated slide here, but Google Bard, the ad they put up on Twitter, actually gave an incorrect answer. So Google's response was incorrect. And in response to that, the market trimmed $100 billion of value off of Google yesterday. So like this race to AI and conversational AI has big stakes. So my question to you as an entrepreneur is, how could you use ChatGPT or Google Bard over the long term to integrate with your business and add value? So I refined my question. What are the top 3 marketing use cases? Customer service support. ChatGPT can be used to provide instant and personalized customized service through chatbots, reducing response time. Content generation. It can be used to generate high quality content such as product descriptions, FAQs, article, saving time and resources for businesses. And lead gen. So again, this blows me away. I said to ChatGPT, create a timeline with 10 points from when OpenAI was founded to present. Mark significant points for VC rounds, investment value, and number of employees. And here you can see the entire history created for me in just 10 points. But if I wanted 20 points, I could go back and ask it. So here you can see the progression of ChatGPT, founded just at the end of 2015 to today, having $29 billion of valuation. Now, one thing that is very interesting is ChatGPT is only trained on data up to 2021. So you'll notice here, point number 10 is 2021. So there's no data in the model from 2022 or 2023, but you will see that change as it gets incorporated into Bing and as Google brings out its competitor. So then I asked ChatGPT, how does OpenAI threaten Google's business model? So, and it gives me 4 points. AI research, boom. Impact on advertising. 80% of Google's revenue comes from advertising. So even if Bing attracts 1%, as we mentioned, it is a real threat. Privacy and competition for talent. So this is just interesting. You can use ChatGPT to think about different business angles. What industry will be most disrupted by OpenAI? And it comes back and says healthcare, finance, retail, transportation, and manufacturing. 5 different industries. So you can dig into why this is the case, but just think about on healthcare. If I can just say, hey, I've got a sore stomach, what could it be? My family history is this. So now there are limitations to it. I love this one. Explain blockchain using the language that a 5-year-old can understand. So I love this. Blockchain is like a secret diary that lots of people can share and add to, but no one can change or delete what's already written. Imagine you and your friends each have a diary and you all write down important things that happen every day, but instead of just one diary, you all share one diary that's kept in lots of different places. It would be like a Harry Potter. The moment I write in my diary, magically it appears in everyone else's. And whenever one of you writes something into the new diary, everyone else's diary gets updated too. So you have all the same information. That's what blockchain's like. It's a special way of sharing information that makes sure that no one can change what's already written and everyone has the same information. It's like using things like making sure that money you spend online is safe or making sure no one can cheat when voting. I just thought this was so fun. Again, so I wanted more industries that are affected by disruption. And so I asked ChatGPT, what is the greatest decline in value since 1993, which is the date the web was born, with the founding of Mosaic, and eventually we had Netscape, and then IE, and then of course Chrome. And here it just lists 10 industries that have been turned upside down by disruption: retail, advertising, printing and publishing, travel, telecommunications, music and entertainment, photography, gaming, education, and finance. So it almost is like a Wikipedia too. And does OpenAI allow for OpenAIs to train other chatbots? So here, this is really interesting because going forward, you can use data from your industry and your customer set and train ChatGPT to answer questions, inbound questions from your customers. So this is fascinating. Now, I asked ChatGPT what were the limitations of ChatGPT, and here you see data bias, contextual, lack of common sense. It is not creative. It's based on the data that's out on the web and sensitivity. So you can get some bad answers out of things too. I thought this might be fun. So I asked ChatGPT, what are the top 3 reasons to join tech? So number 1, networking opportunities. 2, business support and mentorship. And 3, access to expertise. I thought that was just great. And I then asked it, why do organizations that are led by executives who participate in peer mentoring outperform those that don't? And again, ChatGPT goes out to the internet and it looks at everything: Harvard, Yale, Sloan Business Management View, Tech's own website, other peer networking organizations. And it comes back with this: shared experiences and best practices, increased collaboration and problem solving, enhanced leadership skills, and increasing confidence and motivation. So then I think, okay, this is lovely, but show me the proof. So then I asked ChatGPT, what research shows how executives in peer mentoring outperform those organizations led by people who aren't? And it will actually give me, this is actually, it's the next slide. So Harvard Business Review found that companies with executive teams in peer mentoring on average had 47% higher revenue growth and 55% higher net income. And you can again see this. So I'm saying to ChatGPT, show me the proof, peer-reviewed studies about why tech members will outperform their competitors on average who aren't involved in mentoring. Then I decided to have some fun. So I said, write me a haiku as to why execs should join tech. So here was the first one. Peer support awaits. Execs grow stronger together. Shared wisdom shines bright. And I said, another, give me another. In tech's embrace, execs find guidance and growth. Success is attained. So I just found this totally fun. Now, I focus exclusively on disruption. So I asked ChatGPT to list me the top 20 technologies that are improving exponentially in terms of price performance. And top of the list was AI and ML, robotics and automation, big data, cloud, IoT, 5G, AR and VR, blockchain, quantum, autonomous vehicles, drones, 3D printing, renewable energy, advanced materials, genetic engineering, advanced manufacturing. This was a great list. So I've been focused on disruption and innovation for decades. And I thought, wow, that's an amazing list this pulled together in just the 2 seconds that the answer had to come back to me. So why is this important? Well, the cost to train a ChatGPT equivalent would have been $4.6 million in 2020. And the learning rate, or the declining cost, means that if you were to do it today, it would only be $450,000. It's declining at 70% annually, compounded every year. And look at this. ARC Research, which is Kathy Wood's fund, ARKK, says that declining rate means that training for AIs like ChatGPT will cost $30 in 2030. So what I'm trying to highlight for you here is how fast the market is moving and suggest you should start playing with this right now. Oops, I went backwards. AI could lead to a 10-fold increase in productivity in coding. That's, computer coding. This is ARC Investments' big ideas. It came out last week, looking at how people working with AI can radically increase productivity. So in coding, ARC predicts a up to 10-fold increase in coding. So how's that going to change your industry? And looking just at how AI can enhance knowledge workers, ARC says that the spending that they're predicting on AI is going to create trillions of dollars of value in terms of enhanced productivity. So AI software could generate $14 trillion of revenue and $90 trillion of enterprise value by 2030. These are humongous numbers. And all this is to say we should start putting our toe in the water and playing with it and thinking about how it could benefit our organization. Again, time to complete coding tasks dramatically reduced, humans working with AI. And here on the right side, it looks at, hey, if you hire a designer to create these images of an astronaut on the moon or give them to a generative AI, the difference in price is $150 for 5 hours work on the top two and 8 cents and less than a minute on the bottom two. So what I want to do is have another question here for you. So Stephen's going to call up another poll, and I'd like you to vote on how, given all these examples I've just shown you, how could ChatGPT be a valuable tool for you, for your company, for your industry on lead generation, on marketing, on research? So Stephen, if you can call up the poll, that'd be great.
Jim,
And if
we're running into a technical error, so apologies, everyone. I know we were able to run the
don't worry.
first poll. What I would recommend is we've had some great engagement on our chat. So if you could please put your answer in the chat, and Jim, if you could take a look at that as some of the answers come in, I think that would be a great, I see marketing, research, lead gen. I'll let you take it from there. One other thing to note, and Jim, you let me know when you're ready, but there's been a couple questions that have come through. So you give me the cue and I will let you know what they are.
We're coming up to it soon. So I'll
Perfect.
just look at the answers in the chat. And so please do keep putting your insights into chat. So I want to talk about AI. We've been talking about it specifically around ChatGPT, but I want to take an example. So let's say I work for a construction company. How could AI help me? And completion bonds. So if I'm doing a $150 million new building, the owner of the building will say, you have to complete it by February of 2024. And if you don't, there's a penalty. And I'll have to go out to an insurance company and buy a completion bond. Well, that company, many of them are using AI to say, hey, when's a construction project going to go off the rails? Or we could use it internally to say, when are we going to go off the rails, using many different pieces of data. Predictive maintenance. How do we predict when our equipment is going to break down so that we fix it before it does? And this is tying into Internet of Things, and say on a train having 1,000 different points of presence, all throwing off data, and a part yells out, hey, I'm vibrating way too much. I'm about to break down. Why don't you replace me tonight? scheduling, whether it's workers or deliveries, accounts payable, accounts receivable, reconciliation, and cyber. I want to touch on a couple of other applications. So what I'm really trying to say with this slide is AI can touch many parts of any business. This is something called Lensa AI. You upload different images of yourself, and it'll create these pieces of art. About 100 came back to me. Now, this one here doesn't look like me at all, but I thought it looked like Daft Punk. This one came back, and I thought, you know, all the black kind of makes me look a little bit sinister, like Dr. Evil. So, you know, you can have some fun with AI. This is called Lensa.ai. So at CES, and we're coming up to questions soon, I shot this little 90-second, 60-second video with my Uber driver, and I just want to play it for you. How much are you saving a week on gas?
$700 a week.
$700 a week, so that's like $35,000 a year. So it means that you actually have money.
Extra money left over.
Instead of your car payments.
Exactly.
Amazing. So what do you think about the Tesla?
I love it. It's amazing. The money that it saves me, the headaches that it saves me. I was actually in an accident and the driver drove off without exchanging insurance information with me. That alone saved me $2,500.
Because you had the cameras that documented who he was.
Yes, exactly.
So this is just kind of cool. This video, which I posted on social, on Twitter, was viewed 2.2 million times. So you never really know what's going to go viral. But what this shows is for high use vehicles like taxi cab drivers, Uber, Lyft, salespeople who are on the road all the time, you really should have them in an EV because the savings are huge. Now, I think Mary Elena, who is my driver here, overestimates the gas savings unless she's doing like 150,000 miles a year, which she could be, I'm not sure. But the maintenance on an EV is 70% less and the fuel cost is 70% less. So every high use vehicle should be in one. One of the things that is interesting, this was an award winner at CES. It's a real-time urine sample analyzing device. You put it in your toilet bowl, you pee on it, and it gives you dozens of different readings about your body and the state of the union for it. Glucose levels, you can tell they're doing some clinical trials now with people who've had bladder cancer, people who have had other kinds of cancer. If you're a woman and you want to know exactly when your cycle is to identify when you're ovulating, this is something. And this is all shows up then on your smartphone. So we're getting to real-time information about my healthcare. Like if you think about whenever I get on a plane, the pilots check every single system before they take off. But the way we work is once a year, we go to the doctor and get a checkup. Imagine every single morning, I got a checkup on every single important or major system by peeing into this, urine detector. And I get a state of the union in terms of my health. That's more preventative medicine. So I can see what's going on. We've already talked about, preventative maintenance, and for Train Italia, their 1.4 billion euro budget, they're getting a 10% saving every year by doing predictive maintenance. In other words, monitoring the operation of 1,000 different parts on this high-speed train. And while we're on it, I am a major advocate of executive medicals, and every member of tech should be getting an executive medical every single year. That's monitoring, like doing every single test in the book on you. And while you might think it's expensive, really, what is my life worth? And the reason we participate in tech is to have a great life. Just going to quickly touch on this. One of the most exciting things at CES was this rapid charging technology. So Xiaomi has just brought out a phone that will go from 0 to 10% in 44 seconds. It'll go 0 to 50 in 3 minutes. And it'll go from 0 to 100 in 8 minutes. And this technology is now in 70 million phones around the world. 90% of the top smartphone brands are embedding it. It's going into laptops like Lenovo and Dell, and it eventually will move into electric cars and charging. So it's not only faster, it significantly reduces the amount of electricity required to fully charge any one of these devices. It's called GaNFest, and it uses gallium nitride, which is a chemical composition, instead of silicon. So this is going to be fascinating technology. I'm going to come to the chat and insights, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen and seeing what questions have come up during the first segment here. So it was a bit of rapid fire there. So what are people wondering?
Perfect. Thanks, Jim. I've got 2 questions so far, although we've got people joining us here on Zoom, LinkedIn, Facebook, so everywhere. But there's 2 questions here in particular. One from Rob, and I know you've touched upon some of this, but Rob would like to know, how does a business feed ChatGPT information about their products or services?
You don't have to feed it. It's just like Google. It goes out and screen scrapes the world's websites. So when I asked ChatGPT, why should I join tech, it would have likely gone out to the executive committee's website first and looked at it and summarized all the reasons that tech itself says one should join tech, right? And then when I asked it about peer networks, it might have broadened its search to include YPO or EO or other organizations. And then when I asked for proof, it would have gone to Harvard and Yale and Sloan Management. So it depends on the question and the context, but it is a very cool technology. So it will screen scrape your website if you ask it to specifically, or do a competitive analysis. Like let's say I have a plumbing company. Show me what is the best blog I can write to attract general customers to my plumbing company. What are the pain points that customers have about plumbing? I don't know.
Thanks, Jim. And Rob, I see you have a follow-up one, and then I'll get to Colton's. Rob wanted to know, so asking a question to a regular, perhaps more of a comment, Rob, but asking a question to a regulatory body will need to produce a very specific answer.
Sure. So, and again, there are caveats about this, right? And if you don't like the answer ChatGPT gives you, you can push it to go back. Like I liked the first haiku, but I said, give me another and give me another. So you can keep playing with it in an iterative process. It's very cool.
Thanks. And now the question from Colton. How will AI, and again, you've kind of touched upon some of the markets and industries, but how will AI change the labor market, especially in the fields that can be automated? So sales, marketing, and what does this mean for employee skill transitions? I'm sure that's probably a question you've been getting a lot, or that's being asked a lot by individuals and companies.
So this is very important. Back in 1867, we had our sesquicentennial 150th anniversary not too long ago in Canada here. Back 150 years ago, 80% of people in Canada worked in agriculture. Today, it's less than 2%. So the powerful insight is that we survived farm automation, okay? But what is certain is that jobs had to change, companies had to change, new industries emerged, society as a whole changed. In other words, it's not about the tech, it's about the people. And really, this is a story about change, about training and education, about upskilling, about culture, about engaging with employees to say, hey, this isn't going to replace you, but you working with AI are going to be way more productive and you're going to get to do more interesting things. So how about this? 80% of the calls into an IT customer support center are people resetting their passwords, okay? This is dull and boring work. An AI could do this just as well, which means your tech support people now become more skilled in doing more difficult tech solutions with people that can't be solved in 5 minutes, that might take a half hour. So how do we take out 80% of the dull, dirty, or dangerous repetitive work and allow people to do higher value add work? They are, however, going to have to be upskilled. So, you know, we're still going to have jobs. Like ChatGPT is not creative, okay? It doesn't innovate. Now it might put together information in a new way nobody has thought about, and that could be innovative, but we always are going to need people.
Thanks, Jim. I was looking for the unmute button. I did hear that actually at a conference a few years ago, and it had shown us an example. It was an audience of marketers and communicators, and we write creatively, and it had shown us an article that looked like a Harvard Biz article, and the presenter said that was written by AI. And exactly to your point, it was, your job is not replaced, it's upskilling to figure out the next step of being strategic within your organization.
Exactly. And ChatGPT speeches that have been written by the bot, the AI, have been read in parliaments. They've been presented at Davos. They've been read on air. You just heard Ryan Reynolds' commercial. So this is happening. So we can't put our heads in the sand. We have to figure out how can we use this for my company, for our marketing, to improve customer service, lower costs, shorten cycle times. Like if it takes me a week to write a blog, because I don't have time, this does 80% of it instantly, and then I polish it, right? I'm going to go back.
Yeah, I've got one last kind of comment question, and then I'll throw it back to you. And this is around e-scooters, because of course you had made the comment about their growth in birds, and questions more around, like, of course, a lot of us, especially in Canada, winter for many, many months. Where do you park it when you're at your destination without it disappearing, especially if the solution around it is it being a sharing model? And does that mean that it's a sustainable business model?
So for 3 seasons a year, you can ride one. Obviously, in winter, you don't want to ride one, although I do see people riding them in Toronto. I wouldn't want to ride one. But with the shareable ones like Lime and Bird, they're geo-fenced. In other words, where I park it, it has a GPS, and it says where it is. You're supposed to park them in certain areas. But if you own one privately, obviously, I'd always keep it in the garage. So I'm going to jump back into not questions, but into the PowerPoint here. So this was great fun with all these questions. I'm going to turn to Davos and the World Economic Forum. And what I really want to talk to you about is the future of work. And the pandemic has changed forever the way we look at work. So I want to give you an example about Providence Health. So there's a real problem with healthcare professionals. Like, there's a nurse shortage that is so serious. Many health professionals got COVID, some have long COVID, they haven't returned to work, some just got burnt out. There's this horrific shortage of nurses. There's also serious shortages in other industries. So what Providence did is they deconstructed the work, and they found out that 30 to 40% of a nurse's job is administration. So that's writing on charts, it's typing on a keyboard, It's doing things on the computer. This is not why nurses and doctors signed up to be healthcare professionals. And you have very expensive resources, professionally certified doctors and nurses who are basically doing admin work. So Providence broke this apart and assigned the admin work to admins. In fact, there are even certain things like taking a temperature you don't need an RN or a nurse to do. So they deconstructed the jobs and reassigned portions. And once they did that, they didn't have a nurse shortage. So this isn't about the technology, deconstructing jobs. And Ravin works with Mercer. He was over in Davos. We were trying to meet, but we didn't. But deconstructing jobs and reconstructing them in new ways is really about culture. It's about training. It's about mindset. But the tech enables us to do it. I had an insurance client, and for 30 years, they said the pen has magical properties. Only ink can bind a new insurance policy. So the salesperson would have to drive 2.5 hours west of Toronto to go meet the prospect for 45 minutes, hopefully sign a deal, and then drive 3.5 hours back in rush hour traffic. So an entire frickin' day taken just because of this magical property of ink. And then the pandemic hit. And of course, nobody could meet anybody face to face. And 30 years of legal and compliance saying only ink can bind a new insurance policy had to be dropped overnight, and they went to DocuSign. So here's my question to you. Was it really a legal, regulatory, and compliance problem? Or was it a mindset problem, a culture problem, a training problem? Or was it just legal and compliance issuing political or, exerting political power in the structure? We have to be willing to deconstruct work, deconstruct jobs, and reconstruct them given the technology we have today. So there's, I mentioned construction earlier, and there's 12,000 person shortage in the construction industry in British Columbia by 2029. So we really need to deconstruct construction jobs and say, hey, what is the work that is useless, repetitive, that could be done by AI that will help address some, maybe not all, but some of this 12,000 person shortage, because we just have to look at it. Now, Stephen, are the polls working again? We're going to try this one.
Fortunately, not yet still, Jim. So I would again encourage everyone through the chat. Thanks for the patience and understanding, but loved all the answer that came through last time.
So poll number 3, I want you to think about your company. What percentage of jobs, of work, could be deconstructed and reassigned or automated or delegated or eliminated in your company or in your industry? So what I'm really asking you to do is think about that example like Providence Health and say, how much of the work in my company, my organization, my industry is non-value added work that we could eliminate? And Barb Young has the first at 20%, Leanne's 50%, Alberta's 30%. I mean, you take just those 3 answers together and we're at 33%. I mean, what is the total value of your entire employee base? And then multiply by 33 and you get a frightening number in terms of the value we need to engage in this deconstruction of work and jobs. So what about the fact that workers are vanishing before they even start? How do we engage people? Some people think millennials and Gen Zs, don't have a strong work ethic. But if you're actually doing stuff that's brain dead and repetitive, no wonder you don't want to do it. So for the purpose of attracting and retaining the best and brightest, and by the way, more than 50% of all employees in Canada and the US are now millennials or Gen Zs, and by 2026, it's 75%. So if we're not providing work that is enriching, exciting, boom, we're going to have a problem for millennials and Gen Z's attraction and retention. So keep slapping those insights into the chat because I'm having fun reading them. So here's something that Uber does. When they enter a new market, they'll pay up to $1,000 to attract a new driver. So now there's a catch. The new driver has to do 130 trips in order for the driver that referred them to get the $1,000. So if you're in construction in BC and you're short of people, why not turn every single employee in your company into an HR recruiting agency? Now, there's another catch for Uber. Once they get to, say, 50% of the drivers they need in a market, they might change that incentive from $1,000 down to $500. And once they get to 75% of the drivers they need, the incentive might go to $250. And once they only need 10%, it might drop down to $100. So it's a dynamically priced referral code with a performance requirement. Now, around innovation, actually, we're going to time out. So I'm going to skip these ones. And I'm going to look at mindset. Digital transformation is the reason that half of the companies in Fortune 500 have disappeared since 2000. This is the former CEO of Accenture. And I want to just look at disruption. As you know, in tech, I focus on disruption. And it's been such a pleasure to work with tech for more than 25 years. I'm showing you all new slides today from the insights from CES and from Davos. So this is digital cameras in blue, and you can see digital cameras killed film cameras. I'm going to now change the scale here and add refinement to it. So instead of digital is in blue, but it's also DSLR or green and mirrorless. These are more high-end cameras. So same exact graph, although the salmon color for film has been changed to gray. And I'm now going to twist it 90%. And I'm now going to show you what smartphones have done. In fact, smartphones have killed digital cameras, particularly the point and shoot little ones. So this is a double disruptive revolution. And I've had the pleasure of interviewing Steve, who was the creator of the original digital camera while he was working for Kodak in 1975. So here Kodak had the start of something that was going to revolution the entire industry, and they didn't vote to go ahead with it. So we have to continually have a mindset that is open to new things and be thinking about how disruption could affect our company or our industry. I'll be going to Mobile World Congress in Barcelona at the end of this month. And the smartphone is absolutely amazing. There's an app that detects COVID 2 days before you have any symptoms. And smartphones are being used in China. 50% of all medical visits during COVID were by smartphone, and 300 million Chinese use Ping a Good Doctor, an app that gives virtual or telemedicine. And our smartphones are getting smarter. This is an American penny showing the size of front and back of an AI chip that's embedded in cell phones. So our smartphones are getting smarter. In fact, they have more raw power than the $100 million project of IBM in 1997, Deep Blue, that beat Garry Kasparov in chess. So in 2020, 500 million of these AI chips were in smartphones, and by 2024, it's 1 billion. And they can do simple things like take the background out of this photo seamlessly. But this next one is for inventory. Look at how a smartphone can help with inventory. This just blows me away. What would have taken hours in inventory counting can take minutes. Weeks of inventory can, 90%, 95% reduction in inventory counting, and way more accurate too. So technology is changing things. This is the smallest camera in the world that can be embedded in a medical device and go into your artery. Storage costs, 1956. This is an IBM 5 megabyte storage. And here is something that's 200,000 times more capacity, 500,000 times more less expensive, and 2 million times lighter. So how can you, as an executive, stay on top of trends? Like, as a CEO or president, are you too involved in day-to-day? And this is going to be, we're not going to skip the poll. We'll just move to the chat. So do you think you are too involved in day-to-day operations? Yes or no? So type it into the chat function here. I'm going to argue that most people are too involved in day-to-day. I mean, this is the whole purpose of tech. We want to get people that work with tech out of working just in their business to working more on their business. And so I'm going to argue, well, it's great to see in chat, unanimous, yes. I'm going to argue today you should drop 25% of what you're doing. So you can either delegate it, automate it, or eliminate it. You can assign it to a 2IC or somebody even more junior. But given how fast our environment is changing, you need more time to spend thinking strategically, which is what we're doing today. In fact, the World Economic Forum has said every single person needs an extra 20 days of learning every single year. We talked about upskilling earlier. So where's the time going to come from to understand ChatGPT and how I can use it on my website to better serve my customers? This is all about working in your or on your business, not in your business. So I want to ask you to commit. Will you commit to dropping 25% of what you're doing in the past year to give you more free time to think strategically, to double down on the kind of work you do with tech? So again, we don't have this poll, but let me know if it's hell yes, I already do it, or no. We're coming to the last minute. So I love it. Hell yes, Barbara says. Yeah, all right. So I just want to finish with this. And this is kind of an explosive thought. We've had more deficit spending in the last 3 years than 50 years of Canada combined deficits, okay? 3 years, more than 50 years. And it's not just Canada, it's everywhere in the world. Trillions of dollars of deficit spending, which have led to the highest inflation rate in the last 40 years. Now, the good news, this is US inflation. And we can see it's already come down to 6.5. So, the Fed's interest rates are working, it's coming down. But I want to point out the one solution is technology and innovation. They are hugely deflationary. So a 10-minute phone call from New York to LA in 1920 was $26.17. By today's dollars, that's just under $400. Think about all the jobs that there were for operators. Think about this. We're having this Zoom webinar at zero long distance cost. So the point I'm trying to make here is that technology is hugely deflationary. We have to be engaged with technology and with innovation continuously in order to fight inflation. Look at the evolution from landlines to mobiles. And if your company is not mobile centric, meaning your website is not optimized for mobile, this is a real problem. I have so much more that I want to share with you, but we're going to time out here. I want to finish by giving you a QR code to connect with me on LinkedIn. Mention that you saw me here at the webinar. I want to thank Tech for hosting this. The entire work that I do is to try and help Tech members see disruption before it happens to them. So I'd love to come work with your Tech group. As you can see from today's 1 hour, there's only maybe 1 or 2 slides out of 100 that you've ever seen before. So it's entirely new material. Invite me back to your group if you had me 4 years ago. And I also do strategic planning sessions with Tech members. So I'd like to stop sharing my slides and turn it back and say, this has been so much fun. You're muted. That's one of the most famous sayings of 2021. You're on mute.
Thanks, Jim. Of course it would happen. Thank you, Jim. Thanks for your wonderful presentation. And thank you to everyone that joined. I know we're over time. It's 11:01. However, a couple questions came through, and I'm sure some people are wondering this, especially as you talked about upskilling. One question from Anthony, and Anthony, I hope I'm pronouncing the name right, but where and how do we train our people to use AI and integrate into our business? And if at all possible, Jim, maybe a couple specific courses or programs that you could recommend. And then I've got another question from Christiana.
So I would actually go and start playing with ChatGPT and say, I'd ask ChatGPT, what are the best courses that I could take to learn how to use ChatGPT? And by the way, LinkedIn, Microsoft have thousands of free courses all around technology. So, you don't have to spend a horrific amount of money in your training and development project or budget. There are incredible free resources. So I would start with playing with the technology. I mean, if you email me after this webinar or connect on LinkedIn, I'll send you a PDF of the slides. I won't send you the slides because it's like 200 megabytes. They're all super high res images and many systems block it. But, start playing with it. Ask it some of the questions that I asked it and see how it's different. Get some of your millennials and Gen Zs playing with it and say, hey, I want to create a shadow board, like you have an executive committee. I want to create a shadow board of millennials and Gen Zs, and I want you to figure out how ChatGPT and AI are going to change our business and what we should do about it. And it has to be business focused. Like it has to either increase customer satisfaction, shorten wait times for customer support, increase revenue, get more leads into the funnel by writing better SEO, search engine optimization pages, competitive analysis with our competitors on plumbing in Calgary so that I get the majority of inbound calls, write FAQ, I don't know. So it's all there. So I actually think the mindset is of play. Like kids don't say, hey, I want to have, what course can I take to learn how to play with this toy? They just play with it. So get back to play.
I love that. And I assume you'll probably have a similar answer to this, but Christiana says, which conferences, summits, or international working groups do you recommend for strategic insight on disruptive tech for the transportation sector?
Oh my gosh. I've been to TED, if you've ever seen TED. So you can go to these things, like TED is 13,000 US. It's in Vancouver, a little bit expensive. There are other conferences. I go to a lot of conferences. I'd go out to everybody and say, what is the best course you've ever taken or conference you've ever attended? If I'm in the construction industry, like crowdsource your answer. If you look at Wikipedia has 300 million hours of volunteer time invested in it. In other words, how do you tap the wisdom of the crowd? Whether that crowd is your colleagues in the construction industry or whether that crowd is your employees and their spouses or significant others or whatever. So how do we use engagement as a way of helping us get to where we want to go?
Thanks, Jim. Lastly, could you share your email one more time or spell it out? We want to make sure
sure.
that, oh, I see it over there. Someone from tech has put it in. Thank you, Brittany. So it's Jim, Jim at jimharris.com.
Yeah, it's a really hard one to remember, but Jim at jimharris.com. Thanks, Brittany, for putting it in.
Love it. Thank you, Jim. Thank you again for joining us today, sharing all of your learnings and insights from the conferences that you've attended and everything that you continue to learn and share with your audiences. And again, thank you to everyone who's joined us today on Tech Canada's Deeper Insights webinar series. We will do our very best to put this live webinar currently as a recording up on our website and share it across social media. So if you've missed it and you're looking to either catch it again or catch it for the first time, please be sure to tune in there at techcanada.com or across our social channels. Thank you again. Have a wonderful rest of the day. And thanks, Jim. Great to see you.
So great to see you. This was so fun.
We had a great time. Thank you again. Bye now.
Woo-hoo.